Hey, what's up, everyone? This is a special edition of the podcast, if we even call it the podcast. But I'm Mike White here with
Wow.
Logan Cornelius, and we're going to be taking you through the March Power Rankings, aka the preseason Power Rankings, which is our list of the top 25 teams in the country. And we're going to be going through it from 1 through 25, giving some thoughts.
Let's go.
Throughout. Let's go, says Logan, and I think we're just going to get right into it. So number 1, big surprise, is going to Cisek, Showalter, of course. That is Tyler,
Obviously.
and PJ. Nationals, three-peaters, and just overall, last year they did lose 2 tournaments, but they didn't drop from number 1 because they just stayed crushing it. And then Nationals, right, was dominant, I guess the finals wasn't dominant, but they beat some big teams to win that day.
And I mean, they've now been number 1. Like they went number 1 for 2 straight seasons, and so now they're looking to not even like stay number 1 at the end of the season, but they haven't left number 1 of the power ranking spot.
Yeah, they haven't left number 1 at all.
This is a pretty strong, and they showed maybe a few cracks in the armor last year, so maybe this is the year where we drop. But right now, obviously, there's nothing to talk about here. That's how good they've been. It's boring to have them here.
True.
So,
and of course, we'll see them at some events, but right, they have their auto bid for Worlds, so we won't be seeing them at the qualifiers, which is a great rest for them.
Yeah.
But people will have to take their shots at the tour stops. But the dump team that everyone thinks is going to defeat them, Boysterous. Boysterous did beat them once last year, but couldn't do it again at Nationals, so they're coming into the season at number 2. Similarly to CS, huge day at Nationals, right? They beat everyone else except for CS.
Yep, and this is another obvious one. Again, it's the point where they've been good. They showed a few cracks in armor as well. Only a few losses last season, and I think only 1 loss to not CS, if I remember correctly. So this is a team on the rise, especially with Caleb Peck, such a young player, really performing well. So This is a team that everyone thinks is going to be out for CS. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, their only non-Cisek Showalter loss was to Mock Tega or Tega Mock on the day they beat Cisek Showalter. And they beat Mock Tega at Nationals, so they got that back. And I think they're going to improve a lot. And I think not that Cisek Showalter isn't, but I think it's going to be an even better rivalry in 2020.
I completely agree with that. It's exciting just thinking about it.
Yeah, that Nationals finals was so exciting, and we're going to probably see a lot of those this year. So if you guys caught our podcast last week, we had a big discussion about who is going to be number 3. We talked about Venom, we talked about Toast, we talked about Mammal, but there's actually one team that we didn't talk about as much. That is our new number 3, Trippy Lizard.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense, We were talking about all new teams, mashups that, have not shown themselves. And Trippy Lizard was below some of the players, right? They were below Mock Tega and below Flexible Healing. But we know they're a solid team, so why not give them the debut at number 3?
I think experience comes into play here. They've had a full season together under their belt, and I think that goes a long way. And they've kind of grown their dominance in the Southeast as the top Southeast team. So I think this number 3, I wouldn't necessarily put them at number 3, but I don't think this number 3 spot is undeserved. I think they're a solid team, and the experience they had last year makes them fitting for the number 3 spot.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. Just you trust the team, right? You trust the team that has the results, and you give them that spot. So we'll see if they can hold it throughout the year and how they debut against those new mashup teams.
Yeah.
So number 4, this was your pick, Venom.
This was Venom. This is one of the 2 teams that stole their team name from a Texas team. So I just want to point that out. But I had Venom at 3. I know there's a few question marks with Dylan being out since July, but he's a solid player. And Bonin came back after being off for a little bit last season, and them playing together, I think, is going to be a really solid combo. And I think they'll end up for sure 3. And if they're really performing well, maybe get a little higher by the end of the season. But for me, they're 3 in my mind. I think they're going to be really
sure 3. That's a lot of pressure for these guys.
Yeah. Hey, I'm putting it out there. Preseason hot takes. I don't even think that's a hot take though.
Hey, we'll see how their chemistry folds up. 2 hard-hitting guys, but we know they've been improving in the offseason. So moving on next to number 5. It's actually one of Spikers Synonymous. So ahead of all the other 2 net mashup teams. They're moving up a spot from number 6 to number 5. This is that Utah team that kind of, I think, didn't get enough talk last year.
Yeah, no, they really were kind of like under the radar. But again, I think in this power ranking, this is another like experience is kind of boosting them in the rankings, which again, I don't hate. I think playing together for a full season means something. And so I know they mostly played together for a full season. They kind of started mid-year last year. Church and Stokes, but they had a solid season, solid performance at Nationals. Them, much like Trippy Lizard, had a solid performance, and both of them only lost to the top 2 teams. So Spikers losing to Boysterous and getting T5 at Nationals. I think they're going to be a solid team this year, and experience is really going to boost them.
Mm-hmm. I do think they're planning on traveling a good amount. So excited to see them and debuting top 5. That's pretty great. That's pretty great. So moving on to number 6, that is going to Mammal, the West Coast team that we were thinking about for number 3. But I think this is fair again, right? They're untested, and we don't know how they're going to be. Kenny's great, Josh is great, but we got to see how they do together. And I think there was a little more uncertainty here, especially because Kenny is coming off a little bit of an injury. He's working on his ankle during this offseason.
Yeah, I think that's a solid point with that injury, and then just we haven't seen this team play together. Subpar didn't really do a whole lot last year, and then they had the disappointing result at Nationals in the Premier Division, a division which everyone kind of thought they would win. And so there's just a lot of questions in the air. And then Kenny had that season or that loss just a few weeks ago to the OC Bubble Boys, which it's a preseason tournament. It means a little bit, doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot, but it just adds some questions. So I think Mammal's going to have a slow start this season. I think they'll pull it together and they'll be a solid team by end of the year. But I wouldn't be surprised at all to see them have a slower start of the season, maybe even drop a few spots before making up some ground later in the season.
Okay. I kind of think the opposite. I think they'll be working their way up. We have a solid top 5 there, but I see Mammal as a strong team kind of making their way. But again, we'll see. Might have a slow start, or they might have came out and won San Francisco. But so we won't know. But
we'll know.
We'll see how it does. Now coming in at number 7, we got Toast, the Southeast team, Travis and Coleman. If you look below, we showed all of Travis Core's results. Coleman did have some good results last year, but definitely not as good as Core with a bunch of third places. He was playing with Jarrett Rouse last year as Flexual Healing. I think these guys are 2 incredible athletes, so I think they'll have a lot of success this year. I think coming in at 7 is pretty fair, especially they got second at a tournament, at a preseason tournament. So they might not be as dominant as some were hoping.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see how they do. I mean, Travis, obviously, you look at his results, he has some solid results, like a ton of podiums. I don't believe Coleman has got an SRA podium yet. Certainly, I see him getting one with Travis this year, but I think this could be a boomer bust team. If they're both playing well, they could have some really good results, and if they're not playing well, we could see some disappointment. So this is one team I'm really interested in seeing how they do. We'll see.
Yeah. I think they're going to have a lot of success later in the year. I think they can do a lot just off of their skills, but I think Travis, look at all that experience he has. So much experience. And Coleman's a relatively newer player. I think they'll be working together. He'll be teaching them some stuff. They'll figure it out. And I think really come into their own later in the year.
Yeah, and I mean, as much as a joke experience has been made with Travis, he has that, and he has some incredible results, and he's an incredible player. And even just from playing with Travis, he's gonna learn a lot of that in game, in tournament, and I think that's gonna transfer over him. So it'll be interesting to see how they develop as a team throughout the year.
I'm excited to see it. So coming in at number 8, Anchored LI moving down one spot. And look, I forget the phrase you're using to describe them because they had such an up and down season.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I don't remember the phrase I used either. But Anchored LI is just like they're such a hard team to rank. I mean, they're the CS killers. I use that term. Like they're the CS killers. It's like, you have one game against CS. Who you're going to choose? You're going to choose Anchored LI. But in a lot of their tournaments where they beat CS, they would then lose to another team. But granted, and they still had some wins. They won Raleigh. They won East Regional, so they can still win. But it's one of those teams that just it's hard to peg. They're a consistent team. They just don't always get that top result like some other teams. It's weird. I don't know how to describe it. I would have them above Toast though, in my opinion.
Okay, I think some of it is I want to describe it as I'll talk about some teams like this sometimes is describe them as a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a barrier, like a barrier of entry team where like I don't know, right, their success. They don't have a great success rate versus, right, the teams ahead of them, but anyone like 15 below, right, like they got you, right? They are so solid that they can really take out the teams and won't get upset that much. But I don't know if they have what it takes to, or they didn't show us they have what it takes to really get through those top teams ahead of them. So they've kind of have been in this limbo in that this range for the teams. Yeah.
And I think part of that, what you're saying there is like they have consistency. That's part of their game. They're consistent. Ryan's solid defense. They don't necessarily have that serve game though. Their serve isn't like, it's not progressing with the meta. They're not serving like a lot of other teams, and I think that's kind of what gets them in that area. And so
the consistency of their skills keep them in there, but they don't have that X factor, as you'd call it. And it used to be their defense, right, being that X factor, but that's a little harder nowadays. People are getting better.
Yeah.
So
agreed. So it'll be interesting to see. And I mean, Anchored's a team that is a fan favorite. Everyone loves Anchored and loves to see them have success. And I'm right there with it. So I'll be excited to see how they do this season.
Me too. So coming in at number 9, we got ClubSpike Worldwide, which I think this is reasonable. They were at number 10 at the end of the season, moved one spot up. They didn't play too much at the end of the year, just a few tournaments, but they had a huge tournament at the Chicago Grand Slam, just losing to Cisek Showalter, but unfortunately had a bad day at Nationals.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how this team does. I kind of see them in my mind as an up and down team, but not necessarily being in Chicago. It seems like they've been putting in work, and I think especially with like the development of ClubSpike and that as a brand in the Roundnet world, I think that's kind of pushed them to train a little bit more, which is good. So I'll be interested to see how they do. I don't necessarily. I mean, I think 9 is fair. I think somewhere in the 9 to 12 range is fitting for them, and that's, I believe, where I had them. So I'll be interested to see.
Yeah, me too. I think so. It's kind of hard to get a grasp. Like they have solid skills. Drucker's serve and his play is certainly an X factor. All right, Drucker won a Grand Slam. Right, him and Tyler Cisek won Summer Spike. He has what it takes, and it's just can these guys really put it together at events this year? So we'll find out.
Yep, that's it. And that's what I think, like at Nationals against the highest competition, they didn't perform like they had at other ones. And even you saw the Chicago Grand Slam, they made it to the finals, and they competed against Cisek Showalter, and it wasn't close. Yeah. So will they close that gap, and how will they perform? I guess is my phrase. I'll be interested to see.
So these guys moved up, so that means that there's an open spot at number 10. And that is actually going to go to Infinite, which is your 2019 College National champs, Sam Buckman, Jacob Payer of Cal Poly Slow. Logan, are you surprised by this?
I'm not necessarily surprised by it. I think these guys have gotten a lot of hype. They're a little higher than I would have had them, but I've never seen I played Sam once in pool play at the first tournament of 2019, so I don't have much experience against Sam. I've seen a few of his plays and some of the serves he's put on, but lots of people put serves on Instagram, so that doesn't necessarily go too far with me. But I played Jacob Payer in a tournament about a month ago, and he's a solid player. He's got a good serve and a good game. It'll just depend on, I think, once you start getting past like that top level into like the second level, it comes down to consistency and how much, the better the server you are, how much can your consistency support that? So that is one thing I'll be interested to see with these guys and just see their overall game. I don't have too much experience against them, so this doesn't surprise me seeing it 10, but I'll be excited to watch them play.
But like people forget, you look down there, Buckman won a tour stop, right?
No, it's true, and that's so impressive. And that's why like I don't have a problem with it being here, because I mean he's got that first place, and that's like one of the most fascinating and exciting results of 2019 was that win.
And
so
both players with wins on Spiker's Synonymous. Yeah, to be honest, I was surprised when I saw this, but after thinking about it more, I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense, right? Hooters was in this range a little bit, right? Throw Buckman in the mix, and these guys have been getting a lot better. So
yeah,
that'd be pretty cool. But awesome, and a pretty sick logo.
Yeah, I do actually. The logo is very clever. Once I started looking at it, I was like, okay, that's a pretty clever logo.
Yeah. All right, so this is another new team. We've had tons of new teams on this PR, a lot of new formings as happens at the beginning of the season. We're moving up to number 11. We have Schweppes. They're actually moving up 2 spots if I haven't clarified, last month's ranking means the postseason of 2019. So they've moved up since then, and I think this might be their third or fourth year together. I think they broke up for 1 year for Ohio against the world, but now they just keep playing together, with their peak result being second at East Regionals with solid win over Graham Throw and now the DK Roundnet. Yeah,
and I'll be so Schweppes I kind of see in the same category as Anchored. So they're one of these teams, solid defense, consistency. They don't necessarily have the serve game. So I'll be excited to see if they develop that over the offseason, just how they put that into place this coming season. If they don't add on to their serves, I wouldn't be surprised to see them drop in the rankings. I kind of see them as a step down from Anchored in that sense. But like I said, they have experience, and that goes a long way. So we'll see how that plays out for them.
They can make those big plays.
Yep, and they've been there. They've been there. They've won big games. They've had 2 straight years in the Pro Division, so that means something. So these guys are solid.
Solid. Moving on to number 12, we have Ghosted, which is a new team out of the Southeast. Addison Powers, formerly of, I'm I'm forgetting their name. What was their team
Power
name?
Sweep?
Power Sweep.
Power Sweep.
Oh, that's embarrassing. And Patrick Chu, who
okay,
played with Gus Gonzalez and actually got second at Southeast Regionals to make the Pro Division. But unfortunately, both these teams were in the Pro Division, but both finished T13th. With not bad losses, right? It's the Pro Division. It's going to happen. But they're coming together, and I think Chu is one of the most improved players of last year, and Addison is so solid. So I'm actually excited to see how these guys do, and it's a high debut for the Southeast team.
Yeah, I will be excited to see as well. I think these guys are a little overrated in my mind. I don't necessarily have a lot of experience playing these guys. I played them a few times. I only played Chu once last season, and he didn't put on his serves for 1.5 games, so it was hard to really get a read on him there. But he has some good wins and just plays well. And like you said, one of the more improved players. So it's one of the one of the new teams that I'm more excited about. I'm excited to see these guys play together. I think it's a fun combo. So I hope to see these guys make some noise in the Southeast.
Yeah, and I know, I think Power Sweep last year was doing well, just not well enough. Weren't getting those big wins. So I hope that these guys can have that success and really compete at the start and kind of not just hop in this limbo in the middle. Right? I talk about this tough spot where you just really stay at your spot. Right? You want to keep. It's okay to keep and going and winning and beating the teams you're supposed to beat, but it gets very frustrating if that's all you do. So I hope they have success and really challenge those top 10 teams. But that's gonna be hard.
I I think this team is an upgrade from Power Sweep as well, and I think a lot of that is the serving ability. So I'll be excited to see that. I'll be interested to see kind of how the hitting does and how that performs against higher teams. There's a lot of defensive touches, but as far as serving goes, I think they'll be an upgrade from Power Sweep.
Moving on to number 13, we have Flight, who it says returned because they were, in the power rankings during last year, but were taken off because they didn't play regionals or nationals. This is my favorite team, of course, who had some solid results last year, but just don't tend to play very much. Second at Boston with a win over Trippy and first in the SummerSpike Premier Division. But the thing with them is Parlin and Spectre are very talented, but they don't travel that much. You don't know how much they play, so we're not sure what we're going to get coming into 2020.
Yeah, and this result is another one that doesn't surprise me. I know there's a lot of hype around Flight and these guys, and they make some showy plays as well. But again, you make a point with we don't know how much they play. They didn't play a whole lot of tournaments last year, and I think people forget that playing consistently, getting that practice in, certainly does help you perform better at tournaments. So I'm not sure how these guys will do. Yeah. They had some solid finishes last year, but
and I think last year I was uncertain as well, and then they came out and did pretty well.
Yeah.
But the other question is, if they went to more things, would people learn how to play against them more? Right? It'd be the double-edged sword where they'd get better, but also do people learn their serves, learn all this stuff?
And you got to think as the game progresses, as serves get better in general and serve returners get better, these people that have these serves, if they're not practicing them, they come on the scene that's not as impressive. Everyone's seeing that more often. And so then that hurts them. So if they're not progressing as the game progresses and they're just showing up, they're not going to perform at what people are expecting.
Yeah. So we'll find out. I'm not sure what they're planning on attending. Most likely DC would be their first tournament. But coming into number 14, another new Southeast team, Prophetic, which is the other half of Power Sweep, teaming up with Zeke Friedman, who's one of the best lefties in the game. He absolutely crushes me when he's serving towards me. But you see their notable result. They beat Toast at this preseason tournament Rationals, which is solid.
Yeah, I was a little surprised by this. Personally, I think this is the most overrated team in the PR for the preseason. I think that's a solid result. I think there's a lot of hype built up with that result. And I mean, for good reason. Toast is a solid team, and they came out and beat them. But I think people are a little overhyped on that, and I'll be interested to see how they play as the season continues. But this was definitely a surprising one for me.
Yeah, me too. A little. It's hard to tell, right? That result is awesome. Beating Toast, I was like, Toast is great. That's a good result. But I do have that feeling with you, and I don't know if that's just me, with a gut feeling or misinformed, right? But I felt that way too. But I am interested to see how this goes throughout the year.
And Zeke being a lefty and that developing, I mean, I feel like just being a lefty, the development, you just have to develop a little, and that counts as 3 times as developing with a righty. So with that much development, it can really change the team dynamic. So and I mean, Maiko, he's played in Pro Division twice, so clearly he has that experience that I've been talking about. So hey, prove me wrong, guys. I'll be excited to see it.
So rounding out the top 15 to start the year is going to be another new Southeast team, which is Dinkin Flicka. David Gonzalez and Jackson Stanek. David played last year with Matt Bonin. And I think what's interesting about this team for me is how Jackson will match David's style, because he is one of the most unique players in Roundnet.
Yeah, and again, this is team number 2 that stole their team name from a Texas team. Granted, these guys get a little more pass because the guys that stole the team from had 6 team names last year.
But look at that logo. Was the Texas team making that logo?
It wasn't. I'll give them that. But I think this is in my mind, this is the style team. This is the flashy team. This is a team where if they were to play a game to 21, some people, they can post. Well, you won every 3 games. They have that Instagram play. Dinkin Flicka, a full game every.
Logan, how much time do you spend on Instagram? You're always talking about Instagram plays.
It's that recruiting game. Every single one of their plays can be an Instagram play. These guys are flashy and showy, and they're exciting to watch. So,
that also leads to some inconsistency, right?
Absolutely, completely agree. And that's kind of what I was about to say. Is it'll be interesting to see how those styles mash up. Like you said, is how can that double flash. Will it blind the opponent or will it blind everyone? You never know.
Yeah. We'll find out. And at number 16, we got Cheddar, which is the Texas native Frederick Hinkle teaming up with the veteran Chris Hornacek. And so they actually played a couple times last year in, I believe, Chicago and Nashville. Didn't have great results, but, held their own in the pro division. And so they're going to be teaming up this year.
Yeah, this is around where I expected to see them. I'll be interested to see. I mean, Fred is always working on his game. He's a solid player, and Chris just loves the sport. Mm-hmm. So far, I haven't seen a whole lot of great results out of them. So I'll be interested to see if they're able to kind of put it together. And that's certainly the third at Y-Spike was that was a surprising result. But again, it's an off-season tournament, so kind of the first one of the year. Hard to take that with too much weight. But I don't know how this is going to be.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see.
Mm-hmm. I think so. Chris talked on his stream recently about how he's going to try to change up his game this year, right? Like we talked about how Anchor, like they win through a lot of consistency. That's how he's kind of played for a long time, like make less mistakes. But he says he's going to try to work on that and have more of that X factor, more of that explosiveness. And I think that might come with serves. It might come with, right, even converting, 10% more of your touches, right? Like that could be make or break if you're playing a lot of tournaments, if you're, need to get those. So I think he says he's going to get creative. And I know Frederick's a student of the game, as they say. So I think they might develop over the course of the year. They have to find their style and find what they can do to improve and break into that top 15.
And I think there's something to be said with players who've been playing a long time. There's a certain level, like this style of play you develop. And once you get ingrained to that, it's difficult to kind of change that as the game itself changes. And I think Chris finds himself in that a little bit. And I think he even mentioned that on his stream the other day, where he's been this power player, hit the ball hard, then be consistent and not worry about defense kind of player. And as the game's changing, it's like serves are changing. The way that is, the way he serves, he can't really use anymore. He just has to change it up. And so, and I think it will help him playing with a younger player like Fred to be able to harness his experience and the results he has and just the success he's had and allow that to morph into the game that it's becoming.
Yeah. So we'll see how they do. I'm rooting for them. And apparently Cheddar came up really quick, so I wish there was a good team name reason behind Cheddar. But let's hope they got some... I don't know. I was about to say some cheddary sets, but that's not the phrase. Moving on to number 17, we have half-cooked Zach Vance and Artie Singer, who played together once last year, got second at the Summer Spike Premier Division, and competed pretty well with Flight and got some nice Lancaster wins along the way. And Zach Vance played with Coleman Epperson, now of Toast, last year, and had decent success. But I'm excited about this team here.
Yeah, for me, this was another surprising result. 17 seemed a little high for them. Granted, I've heard a lot about Artie. I've never played with him much, seen him play much, so that may be a lot about that. And Global Beans had some good finishes last year, made Pro Division, and Zach Vance is like the ultimate hype man. So I know that gets people. I know that gets people hyped up towards him and this team. But I want to say these guys do. I think 17's a little too high. But it'll be interesting. I don't know a whole lot about Artie. I've just heard a lot of good things.
Artie can rip some serves.
That's what I've heard.
They're so fast.
It'll be interesting to see how these guys compare to Zach Vance's Global Beans last year. So
yeah. We'll see. We're watching out. Coming in at number 18, fan favorite Echo with our very own Logan Cornelius, now from Oakland, California, a West player now.
That's right. Personally, this is my favorite team on the PR.
Okay, Logan got so excited that he had to disconnect and leave the chat, so now he's back. Tell me about your favorite team.
I just couldn't contain myself. Yeah, I'm excited to play with Grant this year. I think something to note about me is just got to develop my serve, and so that's part of the reason I wanted to partner with Grant is he's just been crushing it, and he's known for his monster serves, and the rest of his game's been improving. So I think for me, it's going to be a big area of growth is just my serving. And I think if we can both serve well and put that together with the game I've developed, I think we're going to have a lot of success. And obviously, I think 18 is really low for us. but was able to end the season on a high note and piece that together with a few good results. And
I only see one result. I think you only played one tournament last year.
Yeah, I know. I played a few more. I had a lot of very mediocre results, but I had a couple good results. But people forget that.
Yeah. Have you and Grant played together in a tournament?
We played together on our Lone Star Day, and the normal Roundnet tournament we had with the 6 players that were there, we got first. So very exciting. Wow. But no, we haven't. So San Francisco is going to be our first tournament together. So we'll have our first tournament together at some point, and that'll certainly be a question mark. Is how well do we play together, not really having much experience together. So that's definitely understandable. We'll ending up here, never having any results together. But Grant's been crushing it. He has that 3rd place in Lancaster, I believe, and then a 1st and a 2nd in Dallas. So actually 2 firsts and a 2nd in Dallas this year. So yeah, some good results.
Do you know where your former team Elysium peaked last year?
Where we peaked?
Yeah.
I mean, either Raleigh.
No,
or,
you're on the rankings.
Oh, on the rankings? Oh, I think like 15 or 16.
Okay.
Maybe, I don't completely remember. I think it was around that.
Okay. So you got a lot of work to do.
We ended the season at 17. So yeah, so it's pretty much.
So you really went down a little bit.
I think. I mean, yeah, we had some rough stretches. So you're not wrong though.
But anyway, enough about Logan. Gonna move on to number 19, which is the new team, Hand of God. Austin Rawlings and Chandler Hirschler, a Utah player that a lot of people are hyping up. And Austin didn't play as much at the end of last year, but played a bunch in the beginning and got some solid results. 4th place in Salt Lake City and Grand Rapids when he was playing with Chris Bradley last year. You were surprised by this, right?
I was. I honestly think this is a good spot for them. I honestly thought they would be higher though. I thought that the PR committee would put them higher just because there's been a lot of hype around these guys. But I think 19 is a good spot for them, and I think there's a lot of uncertainty around these guys, probably much like people see around me and Grant. So
well, last year ubiquitous Austin's team, I think they had to work pretty hard to move up the rankings last year. So there might just be some uncertainty around
for sure
them still.
At one point they made it fairly high on the rankings, which is awesome for them. And so I'll be interested to see. I played Chandler in the first round of bracketed nationals, and I was actually very impressed. I was planning on the first round kind of being an easier game, and he was a solid player. So I can only imagine how much he's played and developed. So I'm sure this team will make some noise.
But in a vacuum, right? If that's a T17 at nationals, right, moving into 19 in power rankings, that's pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very good. That's awesome.
So, all right, rounding out the top 20, we have Team 7, a team from last year returning. Excuse me, I should say -2, so down 2 spots from the end of the year. But these are some Livonia guys who had some decent results last year. Nothing crazy, but are in that that mix of they're definitely solid. They just haven't really broken through yet.
Yep, it definitely seemed like at the beginning of last year, certainly at Indianapolis, they got the first top 4. That was their year. They were about to break out, and then it just never happened. They had the 3rd at Chicago Grand Slam, which was a pretty good finish, but I don't think a lot of people saw from them last year what they wanted to, and we'll see if we can see that. And they're certainly a team that was known for being a serving team, having that lefty prowess. So we'll see how much they've developed that, how much their consistency has developed, and just if their serving has powered up with the game. So I like these guys. I'm excited for this. I think this is a pretty good ranking for them. I can see them going up as the season goes on and passing some teams. So I think this is a good spot for Team 7.
Yeah, great. Now into the last 5. Number 21 is going to K Roundnet. That is Ben Dantowitz and Josh Kaplan. Josh Kaplan is actually one of there's a post on Facebook the other day about who are some sleeper players, and I think a lot of the East guys talked about Josh. And it's interesting because they did well at East Regionals, but still didn't get that much recognition.
Yeah, this was a surprise, but a different surprise than the other ones. I thought these guys would be a lot higher, and I think I had them around the 15-16 range. I mean, Ben having that, I believe it was 4th place finish at Summer Spike in the
right. Beating Graham Throw.
Yeah, beating Graham Throw, that was a solid result. And then this third at East Regionals, and just, I mean, Ben's been around the game for a while, and he's a Danowitz. He knows the game well. So I was surprised to see them at 21. I thought that was a little low. I thought they'd be a little bit higher.
Mm-hmm.
And so by nature, I think this team will go up and they'll make some noise in the East.
Yeah, we'll see. I expect them to be at the DC tour stop. So we'll see them there.
Yeah, they don't have too far to go for that one.
Exactly. Moving on to number 22, Strong Flush, our Canada boys, Simon and Mark, who big proponents of, and I think a lot of the times they come down, they have these solid results. It's just, and not that this isn't a good spot for them, it just seems pretty hard for them to prove themselves. And so I think this is definitely a great debut for them. They're the best team in I believe Canada, but I was going to say Quebec. And I'm excited to see how they do this year. And I also don't know how much they plan on traveling, but I hope it's a good amount.
Yeah, and I know you're a strong proponent of the Canadian game, and I got to watch these guys play for the first time at Nationals against Slice the Mango, and I was really impressed with their game just overall and how they played. So I think this is a good ranking for them, and excited to see them compete and play. And they just got some power and finesse, and yeah, I like this team.
Right.
So
these are some
I'm
good.
excited
they're ranked 22, but these are some good wins, right? Hinkle Risk, good one.
Yeah,
It's Gross, and then they beat Vance and Epperson at regionals. Not
absolutely.
Not bad.
Yeah, that's a big win. And I think I mentioned this before, but this is the first time that we're getting down in the 20s range, and even past the teams that didn't make power ranking. These are solid teams. These are all teams that deserve to be on the power ranking and have played well and fought hard to be here. So and Strong Flush is no exception from that. They're a solid team, and I think we're at a place in the game where you get down to these lower ranked teams, there's upset potential with any of these teams, right, which makes the game even more exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, moving on to number 23, Slice the Mango. They've been mentioned a couple times because they had a great result at the end of the year, second at the Nationals Premier Division with some solid wins there, right? Beating Strong Flush, beating Brandon Spector and Blake Rock, beating a former subpar team. Of course, losing to you, but
yeah, don't overlook that bad loss. That bad loss that's not one you want on there.
They surprised a lot of people at Nationals.
Absolutely, they had a solid performance at Nationals, and if they weren't playing me, I would have wanted them to win. So I was excited that we won, but I was a little sad that they lost because they had quite a day and they were balling out there. And the Michigan guys, they're building a brand just in general, all of the Michigan teams, and these are one of the teams that I just felt like they've been knocking at the door and falling short so many times. And with Lake Effect last year, and obviously Team 7, they've been behind those guys, but then at Nationals, kind of they proved themselves hey, we can win these big games, we can be that team. And so I think this is a big season to kind of follow up that entry onto the higher level, if you will. And so I think they have a lot to prove going into this season.
Yeah. So what I mentioned with Slice the Mango is, I don't know if they remember it, they might, but I think I played. So I was in Michigan for a trade show. What year is it? 2020, early 2018, and just post on the app and found these guys' game and played with them. And to be fair, they were decent, but it's very cool to see them go from where they were to being on the power rankings and having such a good result like that. It's funny, because I was just looking for a pickup game in the area, and little did I know, a couple years later, they're just still that's into pretty cool. It, still doing crazy. Yeah.
It's exciting to see just that retention and that these guys are balling out. I love that.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. So just a quick little anecdote before we move on to number 24.
One thing I think with Slice and Mango, if they do match up, even though this wasn't really highlighted on that day and it's kind of it just happened, I'll be excited to see them play Mammal just because they did have with Subpar, how much hype Subpar had, they knocked them out. Yeah. So obviously Kenny's is a different Mammal, if you will. But that's what I'm known for. I'll be excited to see if they match up. I think that'd be a fun little storyline.
See how it goes. So number 24, we have Carnage, the Texas A&M team, who don't have any great national results, but some solid results in Texas. Logan, tell us about these guys.
Yeah, I mean, Rahul is the ultimate serve baller. He's a solid player, and there's not many people whose serves I don't like. But Rahul's is one I don't like, and it comes so fast and come hard, and um, he's developing those cut serves. For some reason they're always so slow against me, but apparently they work against other people. So, but yeah, Rahul is just a serving monster, and then Luke is his serving is certainly increasing. The last time I played him, his serve improved a lot, which was exciting. But he's a good defender. He's great at getting aced on national television, so hopefully he's worked that out of his game. But he's a quick guy, and I think these two are really good complement for each other. Just Luke's consistency, and his defense with Rahul's just power ball and his amazing serving. When Rahul gets hot, it's so hard to stop them. Oh. So, but again, consistency is going to be one of the big things here, and right. Carnage could beat some better teams if they're hot, and if they're not. Right. They could end up with fourth place like they did at right. Waco a few weeks ago. So
we talk about good serves, we talk about consistency, but I think something right we see is right these guys could have right. Rahul has great serves; they can get them through. But other teams also have good serves, and they might out-consistent you. Like, it kind of ebbs and flows with who beats who of the different levels of serves, serve return, and consistency. Right? We talk about, like, it's not a great... Like, you don't need to just be consistent, but it's also like, but you got to be consistent, you know?
Yeah, it's got to be a base level. And I think one thing, Rahul hasn't always been known for his defense, so if he can increase that, and I know defense is an important part of the game, but its importance is certainly... like lowered because of the power that serving has in this game. But if he's able to increase that defense and just that eye on the ball and getting those touches, I think that could help these guys perform. So this is one of the teams that I'm cheering for. Like these guys are awesome. Want to see them beat really any other team except me on this power ranking. So, but yeah, so I'll be cheering for them hard. And again, like I said with Fred, these guys are grinding hard. They play so much, and that only makes their game get better. So they got a lot of potential.
Cool. Okay, and rounding out the first month's power ranking at number 25 is To Be Determined, which is their team name. That is Ravi and Emerson, who had a great result last year, finishing the season third at Nationals, losing to yourself, Logan, and beating Strong Flush. Actually surprised they finished the season at number 20 and are moving down a little bit, but we also have a lot of new teams joining. But
I think there's a lot of uncertainty around these guys, and for me, I'm personally bummed. We did technically beat them. We decided in the semis that instead of a series best of 3-21, we would play 1 game to 9, win by 2. And we beat them 9-7.
Oh my God.
No, they unfortunately had to forfeit just due to injury. Just really bad cramping, and we wanted to play, but it just went on too long. And so we moved on. We didn't get to play them. So I don't have much insight on how they play, but I know these guys have been getting a lot of hype.
I know Emerson's one of the most improved players, in I'd say in Roundnet, but also in Canada, right?
That's what I'm hearing. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, To Be Determined. I guess if they stick with that team name, it's fitting for the season in their power ranking.
And we'll TBD how they do. Yeah,
yeah. And so, something notable is they beat Strong Flush, who is 3 spots higher than them. And I think just on that, it's probably experience and results. Strong Flush has been around a lot longer. They're more trustworthy, if you will. To Be Determined had 1 win in that 3rd place game against Strong Flush. So thankfully they were able to come back after the cramping and be able to play. But I'll be interested to see how this team does.
That's what they do. And shout out to Ravi. Ravi's got a killer Fuengo. Not too many people have killer Fuengos nowadays, but Ravi's got it.
True, people forgot about the Fuengo in the wake of the cut.
People forget about it. But that's your top 25. But before we finish it, we got a couple stats to look at, which are a quick regional breakdown. The East had the most players with 15. Southeast next with 14. Midwest with 11. West is 10. So is hashtag West is dead? Maybe. I know. I didn't do the math. I don't know how many West players are in the top 10. You guys are probably going to look at that. But it was interesting to see because we always think about, I think usually talk about the East has a lot of depth. But the Southeast really surprised me. A lot of new teams and a lot of strong teams. Maybe you just finally see good players teaming up.
And like, I mean, I've been saying this for a couple years now, but like the college game is a feeder into the pro game.
Mm-hmm.
Like the college, the strongest like region is the Southeast region with all the sections they have, and they have a lot of solid players, and they're developing players that way. I think the Southeast being so spread out for the longest time was harder for them to develop, but
Mm-hmm.
now with college developing, a lot of these players are playing in clubs and they're developing within their college clubs, and now all of a sudden the Southeast is starting to
Mm-hmm.
rise. And
Yeah.
I mean, I think the West is dead. It gets said every year and every
Well,
year.
I think it
Like
depends on like who's
West
playing, right?
players
Like
come up,
Jarrett's
though.
not playing, right? Or he's not on a team,
True,
right?
true.
Cahooters, Ryan Balarjan, he's not playing on a team, right? There's a
Yep,
lot of good players in all these regions, but it really comes down to who's committing to a partner, who's committing to a team, as
for
opposed
sure.
to,
And
purely which is the best players.
and I will say when it comes down to like players on a team and being in the power ranking, one of the biggest surprises for me with this power ranking was the OC Bubble Boys missing out.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to say I feel like I like
We
called them
talked
out
about them
last
so
week.
high, yeah.
I called them out. I was like telling people,
You're
I
like,
was like,
these
hey,
guys suck.
I was like, people are going to overreact. They're going to be way too high in the power ranking, and then all of a sudden they're not on it, which
Yeah.
I was surprising. Granted, it was
Definitely
one result.
surprising, but definitely
You
surprising.
can't. Yeah, for me, it just seems like there's. And I guess people don't know them. Like for some people,
Hey,
like
PR is
that one
about the
result-
hype. PR is about the
It's
Instagram
true.
post. It's
It's
about
true.
the Instagrams. Do OC
Exactly.
Bubble Boys have an Instagram? If not, how are you going to get
Nope.
on PR?
The more Instagram serves you post, the higher your PR ranking. Write it down. You kids, you want to be on a PR? You need to post more serves on
That's
Instagram.
causation, not correlation.
Exactly. But yeah, the OC Bubble Boys, they had one result, but I guess you take a team like Prophetic, they had that one result together. But both those teams are more established players.
Yeah.
The OC Bubble Boys,
Things-
they're not necessarily, even though they played a little bit last season. So I was surprised by that. I
As
just
a
wanted to say
preseason
that.
PR, we have very limited info, right?
It's true.
We got to find out. And,
But
we want this to be based on SRA results as well. So, you can weigh results as you want. Would I have weighed that more? Yeah, probably. But we'll see.
Yeah. I didn't want people to overreact, but I guess I didn't want people to underreact either. I mean, I think they could have been in the 20s, but hey, there's a lot of solid teams on there.
Yeah.
They're
going to be angry and they're going to come out and just they'll be 15 on the next
But
one.
if they're too angry, they might burst the bubble, and then I don't know what they'll just be OC boys.
Mm-hmm.
So
then there's that other stat you see below, which is 13 new teams for 2020, included the some that played a little bit last year, but that's pretty substantial, right? More than half of our teams are new teams, which I love that at the start of every season, people mixing it up, finding new partners and seeing what works.
Yeah, I would personally prefer a little less new teams, more committed teams coming in, but new teams are always exciting.
Says the guy who's changed his team every year the past 4 years.
Out of necessity. Yeah, you know what a stat I'd really be interested to know, Mike? I'd be interested to know how many new players are on here. How many players are on this that weren't on it the previous season?
Yeah,
but we may never know.
Right, because like this could be 13 new teams, but just 3 new players, right? So
yeah.
So actually,
if you're listening to this and you want to look that up, get that information.
Hey, we got better math guys out there.
Yeah,
that's too many maths. But anyway, that's all we have for this time. Not sure when we'll be seeing you next because San Francisco tour stop was canceled, so there may not be a early April PR. We may adjust it due to in April. We'll see. Maybe just see you in May, but
or we do an April PR and we have the PR committee change their votes simply
vote again. Just vote again.
How we reacted on this podcast.
Vote on that. Oh, like change.
No, they can change their votes based on how we reacted because our opinions have that much power.
It has so much more. Anyway. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this. Works the way doing this. What?
Yeah, I gotta do my line.
Yeah, do
my line. Yeah. Shoot, I gotta remember it. Hit the subscribe button, smash that like, and comment your favorite PR team.
Yep. And I'm gonna shout out all our panel voters. Shout out Ezra Dantowitz for throwing this together. Half shout out to Kevin Bailey for contributing as well. Just a half shout out, mostly to Ezra.
Wow.
But yeah, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
See ya.